Before I open the hearing for the Barnstable Conservation Commission, I would like to ask Angela to do a roll call for the quorum purpose. And welcome back, Angela.
Thank you. Abedili.
Present.
Foster.
Present.
Hearn.
Present.
Kashuluk.
Present.
Lee.
Present.
Tangney, present. Administrator Ed Hoops.
Present.
Staff member Kim Kavanaugh.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Acting under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and or Chapter 237 of the Code of Town of Barnstable, the Barnstable Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, January the 21st, 2025, at 6:30 p.m. for the applications of Sean McInnes, Town of Barnstable, DBW, Maxi Lenlo, Depola. The hearing is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. The plans and application are on file and may be reviewed by scheduling appointments by sending email request to @hoops at 230 South Street, Hyannis. In accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, please let the chair know if anyone is recording this meeting. Hearing none. This evening's hearing agenda is posted on the town's website. On the agenda next to each application is the amount owed to the Town of Barnstable for the cost of advertisements. Please send your checks to the Conservation Division at 230 South Street before the hearing. Remote participation. The Conservation Commission's public hearing will be held by remote participation as a result of an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed by the governor on March 29, 2023, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Remote public access to this hearing shall be provided in the following manner. 1. The hearing will be televised by Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed via Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. 2. The real-time public comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom link 891-9090-3853 or use the toll-free phone number 888-475-4499 as shown on the agenda. 3rd, the public can also email the comment to edwin.oops@town.barnstable.ma.us at least 8 hours prior to the hearing. Tonight, we have one RDA, Sean McInnes, to remove the 3 approximately 8-inch diameter trees within the 50-foot wetland buffer area due to rotting at 461 South Main Street, Sandyville, as shown on Assessors Maps 207 parcel 067-001. Sean.
Good evening.
Good evening. Can you tell us your project?
Sure, yes. So I'm also the resident at 461 South Main Street. We have some trees that are at the base of the slope that have been kind of not doing well, and they're dying, and they're right at the base. We've had some other trees in the past that look like they've come down kind of along the same area. So we're just requesting to remove the trees because we do kayak down there and boat a little bit, and I'm not sure. There's, like I said, there's been some trees that have come down there historically. So we're just asking for permission to remove those trees.
Thank you. Any question from the commissioner?
I do.
John first, and then I'll go to Bill.
Okay.
John? John, unmute yourself.
We can't hear you, John.
I'm sorry. I think I got it now, right? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I assume you're going to leave the root systems in there, just kind of down to the ground, Sean. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Normally, just looking at the photos since I didn't visit the site, it looks like there's a fair amount of vegetation all around the 3 trees. Is that correct?
Yes, there's just some vegetation that's existing, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, I visited the site, and I was kind of surprised. For anyone that hasn't been there, there's a really steep slope, and the lawn and the the house and whatnot are right at the top of a plateau, and the commission has seen a few of those kinds of places lately. This is a really steep, long slope, and it's forested, and the owner wants to take out 3 trees. And I was thinking, like, why exactly? It was kind of, there has to be like 20 or 30 trees. I mean, of comparable size, 8 inches, 7 inches, 15 inches, what have you. And it's all, brush and whatnot. And I thought, we generally like to, maintain the coastal bank. We want to try to maintain a relatively pristine situation in the 0 to 50. And here are these 3 trees, and it's almost like, well, why did you pick those? And 2 of them are like, they've got to be. I didn't go down the slope right into it, but it's got to be like within 5 feet of the wetland. Big. This is Centerville River wetland on the north side of the Centerville River, and it's like, I feel like it just doesn't make sense. I mean, to me, the trees have some wildlife value. It's a forested coastal bank, and it didn't seem to be affecting the aesthetics. I mean, it's not like, it's like, and then I looked at one tree, and it's like, well, it's supposed to be rotting, and I'm thinking, well, it looked like an oak that has a lot of the what do you call it, old man's beard or what have you in the canopy. And there's several trees like that, and it's like, well, why that versus that? And I guess I had a problem with the idea of just taking these trees out in a totally forested coastal bank. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Sean, do you have any, do you want to answer the question first before I go to the next?
Yes, I mean, I can speak to that. I think you'll see from the photos the trees are dying. So we have a large wooded lot that we maintain, and it is mostly coastal bank, and we look to maintain that for that pristine nature. These trees in particular, this is why we identify them. Now, there's some other trees down by the water too that I mentioned earlier that had rotted and come down, and you can see that. These trees are just in that line, and they appear to us like, yes, they're not healthy trees like the trees on the rest of the lot. Like I said, it's a large lot, and there are a lot of like existing very old growth trees that we look to maintain, and we're happy to do that. These are just trees that we feel like could pose some concern, some safety concern to us if they were to come down.
Thank you. Luis?
I'm in sort of thinking along the lines that Bill is. Yeah, these trees are within the 50-foot buffer. They're also right at the edge of the resource area, and trees and anything else that are growing in the buffer, especially near the resource area, are supposed to be left relatively untouched and natural. They're not supposed to be groomed or trimmed or whatever. Even dead trees we want to leave in place because they're good for the wildlife. So I really have concerns about eliminating these trees. Yes, other trees have died and fallen down in the area, but that happens in the buffer because we don't touch it. So that's what I feel about it.
Thank you, Luis. I think for the commission in the past, we have tried to leave those trees alone in the buffer area, unless it's so close to the house that has an issues about the danger to the house or something. Otherwise, we usually try to leave it in place. Is there any other question from the commissioner?
Yeah, I just like to again say, yeah, I have always said, I look at a house and I go, wow, is that in any danger from that tree? And I don't see that at all. I don't see any safety issues. And some trees die in a natural forested area. And the idea of just pruning them out when they could be snags, they could have some wildlife value. I mean, it's just a natural thing. I'm not supportive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff had his hand up.
Who?
Tom, Jeff.
Jeff?
had-
Yeah, yes. Are there any, I mean, I did not visit the site, so is there any decay or is there any pictures of the decay and rot, number one, and number two, the species type and the other species, it almost feels like the way the table was set here, that it's a heavy vista prune right here. Am I correct?
Are you asking me? So I think we pruned the vista as approved by the Conservation Commission years ago when the house was constructed. We've been there 4 years now. But like I said, I tried to take pictures. You can see where it's been eroded from the water at the base of the trees there. So I tried to indicate that. And like I said, we're happy to plant new trees. But these trees, yeah, they're unsightly and dying. It is in the vista, but it's also, we have other trees in the vista that are fine and they're beautiful to look at. These are just not doing well and they don't come in well. And, it's just, we thought, it's just, like I said, there's other trees down there that have come down in the past. I understand the commission's view on that, but, we're, there's a safety concern as well. We don't see many trees along the Cargill River here where we spent a lot of time, and we didn't think, we've seen other properties that are similar. We didn't think it would be an issue if we were just trying to kind of remove some trees that were dying.
Thank you. Any other question from the commissioner? John?
Yeah, again, Bill, thanks for being there. I did not get a chance to visit this site. But looking at the pictures, it looks like it's a heavily vegetated area. Would that be a fair statement, Bill, since you were there?
Yeah, it's very heavily vegetated and away from the house, and it's a very steep bank. I don't know if it's like 3 stories high. It's got to be at least 2 stories high. I mean, it's a really high bank, and then it's way down at the bottom. You get these trees. And there's lots of trees down there.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, the legal standard, as you know, was can a project be completed without any adverse impact on the environment? Given the nature of this property, given the fact that the root systems will remain, given the fact that he just offered to put in some new trees that are growing and not dead, I would kind of support it with the condition of adding several new trees in there. That to me would make sense.
Thank you, John. Ed, do you have any comment on this?
Yeah, this one is a little difficult, but I would say, I mean, generally the commission does not favor cutting these types of trees since the buffer is undisturbed for the most part, and there is a lot of room for the trees to fall. But it's up to you as to whether or not you believe that the replacement trees would be sufficient to replace.
Thank you, Ed. Louise?
These are in the 50-foot buffer, and we have our feelings about the 50-foot buffer. It's supposed to be left alone, except perhaps for a path to get down to the resource area. So I'm against this.
Thank you, Louise. Any public comment on this one? Channel 18?
Seeing none.
None? Angela, I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, I just was going to quickly say I hadn't seen it. Sorry, I've just come back. But I don't also understand how we could go down and remove the trees without disturbing this area further. So I too am against it.
Thank you. Let me try this and see how it goes. Could I have a motion to approve this project as a positive determination? That means that we don't want the tree to be removed.
So we don't approve it.
Well, approve as a positive determination.
Right.
I think what Tom's saying, Louise, is that by making it a positive determination, the only option they'd have is to file an NOI, but it's not likely that would happen.
Right.
So it's a rejection of the request if we vote in favor of a positive
I
determination.
understand that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I thought there was a question.
So I make the motion. Anyone want to make that?
For a positive determination.
Right.
Second.
Which means a positive determination means that the trees would not be cut down.
Correct.
Correct.
I'll make the motion.
Mate.
So moved.
Anyone
And you
second?
already seconded it, yeah.
Roll call.
Hangney, aye. Lee,
Aye.
Kashuluk,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Abadili.
No.
1, 2, 3,
5 to
4,
1.
5. It passes with 5. Thank you.
Thank you.
Boy, it's part of fun night.
Yeah. we have two NOIs. The first one is Town of Barnstable, DBW.
So I just had a question before I leave on that, the RDA. So does that prohibit any pruning of the trees? Does that, I know they cannot be removed, but can they be pruned?
Does he have a
If
vista
you-
pruning guideline Ed, already?
Yeah,
Yes.
if you give the office a call, we can Katie or I will go over and help you with pruning. But that's for a limited pruning of the trees. But that would be it, not for you necessarily.
That would be only the standard vista pruning.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Town of Barnstable, DBW, improvement to the Hyannis water system's existing water infrastructures at 228 Straightway, maps 268, parcel 099, 132 Smith Street, map 267, parcel 099, and 0 Old Schools House Road, map 267, parcel 190, Hyannis. Matt?
Good evening. Matthew Roble with DPW Engineering here. Just like to make a short introduction to the rest of the project team who's going to be doing the heavy lifting on the presentation that you guys will hear today. But I'm the representative project manager for Town of Barnstable DPW as well as Hyannis Water System on the Straightway Improvements Project. I met out with Commissioner Lee and Edwin Hoops, the conservation agent, this past Friday and reviewed the conservation staking on site at both the Straightway and Simmons Pond locations. And today you'll be hearing the NOI application presentation from the Kleinfelder team, who's doing the engineering design for us as part of the project. Their project lead, Kirsten, is here today, as well as the rest of her team that I'll let her introduce.
Thank you, Matt. Christy?
Hi, I'm Kirsten Ryan. Hi, everybody. I'm the senior project manager for this project. And today with me, I have Tyler Bernier, a lead engineer, and also Matt Stevens, one of our stormwater engineers. So we have prepared a few slides. It's a large site. It's a complex project. So I wanted to be able to orient folks at the site and present a few slides on that, if I could share my screen.
Sure.
I think you can see the slide deck. Is that right?
Up, yep.
Okay. Thanks so much. Okay, so again, this is the Straightway and Hyannis Port Water Treatment Facilities Improvement Project. This is an important project for the town of Barnstable's Hyannis water system as part of an overall program that they've been undertaking for several years to improve the water quality, reliability, and resiliency of the water system that serves the Hyannis water system. So yes, I said I'm Kirsten Ryan. Again, I have Tyler Bernier, who's going to present some of the material, and Matt Stevens. Also want to acknowledge Greg Gavinia. He's the senior stormwater designer who couldn't make it tonight. So Matt's filling in for him, Matt Stevens. And then we just want to acknowledge you met Matt Roble, but all the support and help we've received on this project from the Hyannis Water System, Hans Kaiser, and also the other folks at the DPW Griffin Bowden, Mike Two, and others. So I'm just going to cover these items here on the right. I'm just going to give a very brief overview of the project. Actually, we're not going to look at the entire Hyannis water system. That was from an earlier environmental justice presentation that I had that part. But we'll go through the purpose and benefits, existing conditions, improvements that are proposed, impacts under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Barnstable wetlands regulations, stormwater management, and of course, take any questions that you have. So first, I just want to give people kind of oriented to the site. It's over here on the left near Smith Street and along Straight Way. I can see Ben's Pond is to the north edge of the site, and Simmons Pond is down toward the southeast corner. And at the site already, there's quite a bit of existing infrastructure. It's active, important component of the water supply. And I know you can't read this on here, but don't worry, Tyler's going to zoom into each part of the project area. There's really sort of in the north, what we call the straightway part of the site. And then down to the south here near Smith Street is the Hyannis Port portion of the site. And in all total, this campus, if you will, of water infrastructure has 4 wells. There's 3 treatment buildings, 2 pump stations, a tank, and a set of unwinterized PFAS removal filters or GAC contactors. And there's the existing infrastructure is labeled here in this rust color, and the blue is what's proposed. So you can see a variety of existing infrastructure. The green lines are the water mains connecting the pieces of infrastructure, and then the blue are the things that are proposed. So I just want to summarize some of the major project benefits and the purpose for it. So, the project is quite important to the overall resiliency of the town's Hyannis water system. There are several limitations at the site of the existing infrastructure that limit the Hyannis water system from accessing the full potential of the water supply at the site. And this does put a lot of pressure on the other wells and other treatment facilities in the town, in the Hyannis water system during the summer. So what this project proposes to do is to maximize the water production capacity of the site and the 4 wells that are there and the facilities. This will increase the amount of water that the wells can supply. So we're proposing replacement wells for the Simmons Pond and Hyannis Port wells, which are reduced in yield. As I said, there's some unwinterized GAC PFAS removal filters that need to be winterized to allow that facility to be operated year-round and relieve some of the pressure on the other facilities during the winter, and also improve water treatment processes to further improve water quality and protect the wells and buildings from flooding. So you'll see as Tyler digs into the site plans, in the Hyannis Port area of the site in the south, there is a 500-year flood zone that the existing wells are in, and the proposed work will move those out of that 500-year flood zone. And so at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Tyler.
Thank you.
All right, so like as Kirsten said, we'll just kind of touch on some of the existing facilities at the site. I think, Kirsten, if you click again, there's a second picture that pops up with the booster station. So like Kirsten said, this stuff in the orange or brownish color is all of the existing infrastructure, and those are shown in red on the actual plans. And then the blue stuff is infrastructure that we're planning to install as part of this project. So on the left, you'll see number 1 is the existing straightway treatment facility. There are 2 wells located within that building, and along with a number of chemical treatment systems. As part of this project, that building will remain and will continue to house the 2 wells, and all of the existing treatment infrastructure that's in that building will get demolished, and its function will be relocated to the new straightway water treatment facility. There is an existing booster pump station, a small little kind of looks like a shed there on the bottom. We'll be replacing the pumps in that building, but otherwise it will remain as it is. Nothing will change about it from an exterior perspective. And then in the back of the site, kind of in the background behind the booster pump station there, you can see the existing GAC contactors and the storage tank. That's where most of our work will be happening. The larger treatment facility will end up kind of behind that storage tank, and we will essentially be constructing a building enclosure around those existing GAC contactors so that they can be operated year round. I think you can go to the next slide, Kirsten. Yeah, so like I said, this is on the right here is kind of a representation of what that building will look like that is going to be placed over the existing GAC filters. Essentially, there will be some short periods of shutdown that are required to install this building, but for the most part, the filters will remain operational throughout the construction of this building. The main purpose of it, like I said, is to ensure that the filters can be operated year round. Currently, they can only be operated in the summertime. They need to be drained every winter. It's a bit of an operational headache to do that. So this will ease operations for the town and allow year-round operation. And then this on the right here is some representations of the larger new straightway water treatment facility. You can see kind of an exterior elevation on the top showing the finishes and the windows, doors. And then on the bottom is kind of a cut section where you can see into the building, there's some GAC filters, some filters for iron and manganese removal, chemical storage areas, and a UV system. So the UV system is for destruction of 1,4-dioxane, and the installation of this treatment facility will essentially double the treatment capacity, current treatment capacity at the straightway site. You can go to the next slide, Kirsten.
Just jump in and say that we're not increasing the pumping of the permitted pumping capacity from the site. That remains the same.
So down to the south end of the site, there are two existing pump stations at the site, the Simmons Pond pump station, which contains the well, and then the Hyannisport pump station, which contains the Hyannisport well, but also contains some chemical treatment equipment for the two wells located at this end of the site. The primary objective at the south end of the site is to move the existing pump stations, like Kirsten said, out of the 500-year flood zone and away from the resource areas, and also is kind of a reduction in the overall infrastructure at this location, since all of the treatment functionality of the existing Hyannisport building will be relocated to the straightway site. So the proposed pump stations, the Simmons Pond pump station is roughly the same size as the existing, but the proposed Hyannisport pump station is considerably smaller than the existing facility at the existing Hyannisport facility. As Kirsten said, they're in the 500-year flood zone. They're currently prone to flooding, and that was one of our kind of main objectives in siting these new wells, was to move them from that flood zone.
Yeah, the blue line there is the 500-year flood.
So Hyannisport site down on the south end of the property, like I said, we'll be re-drilling wells or installing new groundwater wells outside of the flood zone, further away from the resource areas. Those pump stations will deliver water to the larger treatment facility up at the straightway site, and the Hyannisport pump station has a small bathroom along with a indoor backup generator that will provide emergency power for everything down at this end of the site. That pretty much covers it. Next slide, Kirsten. So the regulated resource areas at the site, there's quite a few different things in play here. So to the north at the straightway site, like Kirsten said earlier, there's Ben's Pond and the associated wetland complex around that. At the south end of the site, we have Simmons Pond and the associated wetland complexes surrounding that. And then coming out of Simmons Pond is Halls Creek, and then kind of to the left of that is another small unnamed tributary to Halls Creek. So that is a basic overview of the various resources at the site. And here on this slide are the impacts. Most of the impacts that that are part of this project are located in the 50-foot or 100-foot buffer zone to the bordering vegetated wetlands, either at Ben's Pond or at Simmons Pond, as well as some minimal work within the riverfront areas associated with Halls Creek and the unnamed tributary. Aside from the areas listed in the table here, there is no other work proposed within a wetland or bordering land subject to flooding or any other resource area other than those listed here in the table. So here we have a couple of our kind of overall site design plans with the wetland boundary in green and the 100-foot buffer shown in yellow. The existing infrastructure at the site, there is an existing paved access road, as well as some portion of the existing Hyannis or the existing straightway treatment facility located within that buffer zone. There is also a number of utilities that run down the side of the access road there, gas lines, water lines, electric, underground electric lines that run to the existing straightway site. Those are kind of mostly located on the north edge of that existing paved area. So the temporary work in the buffer zone here is repaving the existing roadway. After utility installation, we're going to have to, there's some water pipes within that road that need to be replaced, as well as new electrical service and new gas service. Pretty much all the utilities in that area need to be replaced. And then the access road will be repaved at the end of construction. That some of that work is the utilities installation and the slight reconfiguration of the access road that you see here to kind of incorporate that new drive entrance up to the straightway facility, along with some tree clearing. You'll see down by the stormwater structure there, kind of to the top left, are what the permanent impacts to the buffer zone are at this location. And then if Kirsten goes to the next slide, we have a very similar figure for the south end of the site.
A tiny bit of clearing over.
Oh, yes, sorry. There's a small bit of clearing over there related to some stormwater structures as well.
Right.
So here's same thing down at the south end of the site, Hyannis Port area. You'll see this plan shows the riverfront area in blue, which we didn't have up top. Existing infrastructure here is also located within the buffer zone. You see the existing Simmons Pond pump station is pretty much located right adjacent to the wetland boundary. And then the existing Hyannis Port pump station down to the south is within the 100-foot buffer zone. So the temporary work in this area includes repaving the existing road, and the permanent work in the buffer zone at this end of the site includes installation of security fences, tree clearing required for the new pump stations, paving, and demolition and restoration of the existing pump station location. So once the new pump stations are online, the existing pump stations, along with some quantity of the paved access road, will be restored to natural wetland buffer conditions. I think that might be my last, nope, there's one more. So mitigation measures for the project include relocating the critical pump station infrastructure further away from the wetland and further outside of the 50-foot wetland buffer, and completely out of the 500-year floodplain, with then the restoration of the previously developed areas where the Hyannisport and Simmons Pond pump stations currently sit. You'll see on the left there is kind of an image of the area at Simmons Pond pump station, where we'll be removing pavement and the existing pump station to kind of restore the natural buffer zone at that location. Those areas will be seeded with native seed mix, and there'll be a number of mitigation plantings as shown in the table here that we pulled from the town of Barnstable's approved list of buffer plantings. And then there will be an implementation of a robust stormwater management system that recharges, infiltrates rainwater from storms, and implementation of erosion and sedimentation controls throughout construction to minimize any temporary impacts to the wetland resources at this location. I think now I've handed off to Matt. He can go through some of the stormwater design for the project.
Our stormwater management system was designed to meet or exceed the standards set forth by the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook and the Barnstable Stormwater Ordinance. For pretreatment, we're using a combination of offline deep sump catch basins, sediment forebays, and pea gravel diaphragms that will feed into our primary treatment. Most of both of these sites will be handled by surface infiltration systems or infiltration basins. With one location, we are proposing a subsurface infiltration chamber system. All of these systems have been designed to mitigate peak runoff rates and volumes for all of our design storm events. That ranges from the 1-year storm event to the 2070 100-year design storm. And as Tyler mentioned previously, in some areas where we are removing impervious area, we will be proposing the planting of native vegetation to restore the area to natural condition. And this project has already been through the site plan review committee and has received an approval and is in progress under the stormwater management permit process with the DPW. Next slide, please. For a straightway site, we're proposing to supplement the stormwater treatment system on site, which is 3 underground leaching basins fed by a small infiltration trench. We are proposing a large infiltration basin in the northwest portion and the southeastern corner of the site. These will both be fed by both overland flow and closed drainage systems, and these flows will feed into sediment forebays prior to discharging to the infiltration basin. And additionally, we are proposing underground infiltration chambers in the eastern drive aisle, that will be fed by a deep sump catch basin, just to make sure that we're capturing all of the stormwater for that eastern drive aisle. Next slide, please. And then on the Hyannisport site, there's no existing stormwater infrastructure on site, so we are proposing an infiltration basin near to each of the proposed pump station and well buildings. These will be fed purely by overland drainage flow and will receive pretreatment from pea gravel diaphragms along the major flow paths into each basin. Basins. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Were you done? No, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that each of these basins have been sized and located to make sure that we're capturing runoff from each proposed well building and all of the impervious area associated with them. So the driveway expansions, the walkways, and the roof area will all be captured by these basins.
So that's all we have for our formal presentation. We can dive into any specifics you'd like, answer questions.
Okay. Thank you. Luis?
So you have proposed 6,000 plus square feet of mitigation plantings, correct? Yes?
I believe so.
All right.
Yes.
How does that,
It's 6,820.
okay, so how does that compare to calculations of how much activity, the net activity actually, in the 50-foot and 100-foot buffer areas? Does that multiplied by the appropriate factor?
I don't know, Matt, do you know the answer to that? We have, there's another area, I believe
I can answer the
cleared
question.
areas using native seed mix.
I can answer the part of the questions. In your mitigation calculations, in
Mhm.
one items that you have under the high-end support, that you have area underneath the within the 50-foot buffer, you use a factor of 3, and this should be a 4. So your total mitigation area should be 17,751 versus what you have 16,704 square foot in terms of the mitigation required. And your proposed mitigation is 6,822.
Oh, it's way lower than we would require, right? Than our regs require?
Yes, it is below what would require. But one of the thing that I think we should recognize, this is a treatment facility, and they don't have any. Hyannis Water don't have manpower to do the maintenance, the planting that we needed in there. So to me, I'm fine with this. To make sure the mitigation is all within the 50-foot buffer, and I think that's fine. But that's only my perceptions. But
I think the other thing I just want to point out, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is that a problem because there's not enough area to do the planting?
Yeah, the problem is like that we would have to clear, there's no extra space without having to clear additional trees. Everything that's
it's all vegetated.
not restored is either pavement for access. Let me bring up the overall site.
I suppose planting, that's a big shortfall. And I realize that it's a special kind of project, but theoretically, could one take that shortfall in mitigation and put it someplace else on town property?
If I may hop in here, Matt Roble from DPW Engineering here. I hear the Conservation Commission's concern with the lack of mitigation plantings out at the site. One thing that I'd like to kind of highlight and bring attention to is that this is an existing facility that, especially in the case of the Simmons Pond and the Hyannisport facility, Hyannisport's building was built in 1995 for the plans that we were able to dig up for the existing property, and was purchased by the town in 2005. So this is a facility that was already previously developed, and what we're trying to do with this new project is to, one, upgrade our facilities and better serve our customers, but also to minimize any impacts that we have wherever possible. So part of what we're trying to do with that is, like with the Simmons Pond facility, its access driveway currently runs right along basically the top of the bank for the vegetated wetland buffer, or sorry, the vegetated wetland resource area. And what we're trying to do is move the proposed driveway further away. Similarly, we're proposing stormwater mitigation, which previously didn't exist out on site. And we're trying to replant areas that previously were impervious surfaces with now native plantings, and to try and buffer some of the past impacts that have already happened at site. Likewise, the demolition of the existing facilities being restored to other natural areas. We're trying to keep any disturbance areas only to the surrounding maintenance areas that we need to have for Hyannis water system operations and maintenance staff to go about doing their daily duties, future pump replacements in either one of the facilities when those fail in 20, 30 years from now, items like that. So we're trying to really improve a site that probably wouldn't have been permitted in today's day and age in the first place.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks for your information.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Luis. Angela?
Yes, thank you. Are you planning to provide any construction, post-construction phase monitoring or inspections for this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's going to be monitoring all throughout construction at a minimum.
You're talking about the mitigation, Angela, or?
All of the projects, since it's in this area, I was just wondering if we're gonna have any kind of requirements, what we ask for as far as providing those for the monitoring and, you know, inspections for pre, during, and after. Thank you.
I mean, as far as I understand it, they would have, as far as the project team go, they would have the inspection before, during the construction, and after that. As far as the mitigation area, we would require the annual report for 3 years for the mitigated area.
Great.
Bill?
Sorry.
Yeah, this is an important and a complex project. I get that. And I am also getting that it's somewhat constrained in terms of options for mitigation. Normally, we know where the mitigation plantings are. Usually you have a plan and it goes, see this area, we're going to be planting here. Maybe I missed it, but do you have a on the plans where you're going to be planting 6,000 something square feet of mitigation plantings?
Yeah, in the slideshow, we showed a generalized area. I mean, Matt could bring up the
If you could do that again,
the planting
thank you.
drawing. Although I don't know that we we have a table listing the species, I know, and the spacing, but I don't believe we have it to the detailed level where it shows exactly where.
Yeah, you don't even have a clear idea where.
We do. No,
well,
we do.
But it's not showing there. I feel like we should
Summary
have.
slide. Oh,
No,
Matt.
there was a slide showing that.
Maybe I missed it. It was something that had, well.
Yeah, let me bring it up.
If you could bring it up, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
I think, I just want to note that, you know, in our filing, we neglected to articulate it here, but we did describe the calculation, and we feel that it is infeasible to plant the required full mitigation area and asking for relief from that requirement.
The plan that you're looking for, the information that you're looking for is on sheet 16 of the plan set that was submitted to the commission.
Right.
There's hatched areas that show where the mitigation plantings are.
So you do have that, okay.
Yeah.
Should you pull it up again for Bill to look at, for all of us to look at?
Sure. I have it right here if that's easiest.
Yeah, I want you to share. I'm having trouble with too many things open on my document.
Oh, I think you have to actually stop sharing for me.
Sorry.
Yeah, you have to stop sharing. Otherwise,
yeah,
we only have one screen. We don't have two screens.
No, I don't want to leave the meeting. Oh, here we go. There it is. Found it.
I think you should be. Is this working? Yes.
It's coming up.
Yep. So the hatched area is here, where the existing Hyannisport pump station is, and the hatched area here, where the existing Simmons Pond pump station is, are the total. The Simmons Pond area is roughly 6,800 square feet, and then the Hyannisport area, I don't know if we have that square footage called out somewhere on here, Matt.
You're talking about that, it's like a crosshatch, like a
yes, this hatched area here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when it comes time for confirming you did what you did, it's good to have it in print. Thank you.
Yeah, they can also work with Ed in terms of the placement and stuff like that. I think that's fine, because on that particular figure is showing the number of the plans that they have it in there. John.
Tom, you and Ed were most familiar with this site. Ed, do you have any comments to make before I make a comment?
Yeah, so I mean, I would have to agree. I mean, the areas are, especially off of Smith Street, are actually very, somewhat wild, very wild. The fact remains is that the situation was such that it was built, through the 50-foot buffer, and so what this plan is showing is an improvement, definite improvement as to what is there now. And I would agree with the engineers. You really are constrained at this point in order for doing any further mitigation. I think they've mitigated what they can without literally going in and cutting trees down so you could put shrubs up, and that just wouldn't make sense. So
No.
I think that would be, I think what they've maximized the amount of mitigation they can do given the site constraints. So
Thanks, Ed. Let me go back to the point that Louise made, because she's right. This is, quote, an exception. So I wonder, Louise or Tom, if we do have to have a finding that this is a mitigation restrained site, our regulation does allow for payment in lieu of or whatever. But given the fact that this is a town project with the benefits going to the town, to the citizens of the town, I think then we clearly have the authority to make an exception to that requirement. But I do think we need to show that, because I think Louise's point is valid. We are making some exceptions here, and I think the findings have to show no, would be my opinion.
No, that
Right.
is valid. You know, so let's see what other question do they have. Any other question from the commissioner?
I'd just like to say only that John is absolutely right. I mean, you don't want this to be a precedent where, you don't have to mitigate for homeowners and that kind of thing. So, we need to have some kind of way of avoiding setting some, open door precedent or whatever.
And that's why, Bill, I think we need to make those findings part of this conclusion so that they're on the record.
Yes.
We can do
I would have the same concern that you just raised.
We can do a finding first before we going into the approval stuff.
Right.
Go ahead, Christy.
Oh yeah, I know that we pointed out in our NOF narrative that we believe it qualified for the waiver because it's undertaken by a government agency and demonstrated to provide a overriding public benefit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well said. That's an excellent comment, I think.
I'm gonna put that in the slides, but
yes,
there it is.
Well, before I go there, Matt, can you mentioning about the proposed construction timing wise?
Just making sure that I'm clear. Me being Matt Roble.
Yeah.
Okay. Proposed construction timeline on this is our hope is to begin construction by fall of this year, so 2025. From that point on, we're kind of working on items that our sequencing for this project is pretty strict because we need to leave the facility operational for our high demand seasons, while also being wary of some items being difficult to construct during the winter. So right now our tentative timeline is fall of 2025 beginning construction and then wrapping up by April of 2027. So about a 2-year construction period.
Thank you, Matt. So this is a kind of complex project in the sense that depending on what the construction schedule is, and because you have two facilities, one is the straightway and one is in the high-end sports stations. So, they have to watch out in terms of the budgets and the construction sequencing. So, any other questions? Hearing none. One thing I just want to mention, I know Christian mentioned it. As far as the pumping capacity, that's the DEP issues that you have to deal with them. and we only can deal with the under conservation jurisdictions. So,
That's
January
correct.
18th,
And we're in conversation with DEP regarding any of the replacement well applications.
right, because they have another set of process to go through.
Yeah, we also went through MEPA, DNF, EIR.
Yep.
Process as well.
January 18th, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
None? Let me try this first. I want to make a motion to do the finding, to find that the Highness Port site is site constrained for the mitigation requirements, and because of the benefit to the public, especially on the Highness water systems, that we would waive the mitigation fee for that.
I would make that motion, Tom.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Kashuluk,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And Tangney, aye. That's unanimous.
And before I go to the motions, Matt, I need a revised plans on C1-112 and C2-112 to reflect the correct calculations on the mitigations calculation area. And
Perfect.
I mean, that's fine. You can submit it later. And then the other one is that we will require an annual report for 3 years for the mitigation area.
Okay.
Okay.
And I take it that we'll receive all this in a letter as well as the order of conditions as well.
Yep. I just want to mention that to you first before I make the motion.
Perfect. And I'm good to submit that online with Edwin Hoops and the rest of the commission members. We do not need to represent to
No.
bring those plans to you, correct?
Nope.
Right.
Nope.
Perfect.
Could I have a motion to approve this project subject to the receipt of a revised plan for C1-112 and C2-112 to show the correct mitigation calculations and the annual report for 3 years?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Kashuluk,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And Tangney, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you very much, members of the commission and Kleinfelder team and the rest of the town support staff as well. I wish you all a great night.
Thank you.
Okay.
So much.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everybody.
Goodbye. The next NOI is Maxiliano DiPola, proposed construction of a home addition with adjacent pool and deck at 64 Greenwood Avenue, Hyannis, shown on the Assessors Maps 289, parcel 114. Ed?
Yes, hi, everybody. This is, for the record, Ed Pesci of Pesci Engineering. And let me just do some introductions before I start. With me tonight is representatives from for the owner, Phil Ferreira, and his business partner, Ulian. Also, the project architects with Sulv Plus, Nader Umar and Carol Viana. And finally, my wetland field biologist and wetland scientist, Mike Ball from Marsh Matters Environmental. If I may, I'd like to share my screen.
Yes, please.
And I'm just going to bring up the, just confirming that you all can see the site plan.
Yes.
So what this involves, we have the proposed home addition and pool. I'll zoom in a little bit better. The home addition deck is in red and the pool is in blue. So home addition is in magenta, purple color. We have several resources, wetland resources on this site. First, we have the perennial stream Joshua's Brook and the associated riverfront area. In front of that, or next to that, a bordering vegetative wetland and the 50-foot and 100-foot buffer, as you can see. And finally, a actual edge of the 100-year floodplain is right here on the front of the property around the existing sports court area. Moving up to the proposed addition, just to kind of walk through our process. We have approximately 163 feet of impact inside the 50 to 100-foot buffer. We're outside completely the 0 to 50, but we still have proposed here 163 feet of alteration. And we are proposing some mitigation plantings, which I'll get to shortly. But I also wanted to point out we're providing two subsurface dry well systems. One is strictly for roof drains. The other one is also for roof drain, but also to handle backwash water and occasional pool draining. Because I've had previous pool applications or hot tub applications with this board, with the commission, and obviously you want that rather than just spilling out on the ground and causing potential impact down the road. So moving forward to the mitigation plantings, I found it interesting. We just talked about that in our previous meeting, but I completely understand it. At 163 feet, we're required to have 489, and we just provide an excess of that of 494. It's proposed to be in this kind of triangular area, along with proposed mitigation boundary markers in the form of 1.5 to 2 foot diameter boulders. And I'll just point out that in consult with Mike Ball, we kind of figured the best place for this to go, and really the only good place for this to go, is between the proposed addition, the disturbance, and the wetland resource area. And we felt like it was a good place to tuck it into the bottom of the slope here, in contact with existing vegetation that's contiguous throughout the site. So it would connect with and provide cover and foraging habitat for birds and other wildlife. So we thought it was a good place to put it. It made some sense here, and made it fit well. Again, we're providing some new stormwater effort here to mitigate any issue with the new roofs. And really, subject to your questions, I know I've provided a lot of documentation in the NOI itself with a narrative description, discussion about alternatives and the compliance of no significant adverse impact for the Wetland Protection Act. I would hope that the commission would accept that the project is not altering any natural vegetation within the 0 to 100-foot inner riparian area, but will be actually adding back some natural vegetation via the mitigation plantings. Stormwater is being managed by the project via the use of new roof drain dry wells. Nothing about the project will alter the features providing important wildlife habitat function currently within the riverfront area. And the proposed mitigation plantings, as I mentioned, will improve cover and foraging habitat. And lastly, the project is not impairing groundwater or surface water quality, since not only do we have the subsurface infiltration system, but it also incorporates erosion and sedimentation control measures during construction. And really, subject to your questions, that's all I have.
Thank you, Ed. Question from the commissioner. Anyone? Louise?
This is sort of probably more curiosity, but what's the future of the sports court? Is that going to be actively used, or what?
Yeah, the current owners, Louise, bought the property with the sports court
Right.
in 2011. We think it was built based on the assessor's card in 1985. So I believe it will stay. I just don't know if they're ready to spend the money to resurface it or do anything like that.
Are they actively using it?
I don't know that for certain. Phil Ferreira, do you happen to know that answer by any chance? Phil, you're muted. If you can unmute yourself. Not sure if he's there right now, but I believe they have used it, but there's presently a renter there.
Okay.
So I don't think that's.
This is Will.
Oh, Will. Hi, Will.
Yeah, they use that once in a while, but not every day. He got a kid that likes to play soccer, so he's there not every day, but once in a while.
Okay. Phil was just texting me that his microphone's not working. So thank you, Will. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Welcome.
Any other question from the commissioner? Hearing none. Channel 18, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
None. Could I have a motion to approve this project as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Koshulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
and Tangney, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you. Good luck, Ed.
Thanks very much, everyone. You have a good night.
Good night.
You too.
We have one EC certificate of compliance is Brian C. Cobell and Tracy A. Ryan, SE 3-5807. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Koshulik,
Aye.
Tangney, aye. Lee,
Aye.
that's unanimous.
And we have one set of minutes, July the 7th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for January 7th,
Oh,
2024.
sorry, January 7th.
2025. We both got it.
Yep.
Second Angela's motion.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Abstain. I wasn't there.
Koshulik,
Same thing.
Lee,
Aye.
Tangney, I read them. Does that count? I wasn't there either.
No, you can just read it. You don't have to be
Yeah.
present.
You
So
can.
then aye,
Yeah.
it passes.
The next hearing is February the 4th at 6:30. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Tangney, aye. Koshulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
and Abadili.
Aye.
That's unanimous. It's 7:37.